the Northwest Herald for the last 10 weeks. In fact, yesterday was the last of the 10 weeks, and so in a couple of weeks we're going to get the metrics on that.
I guess maybe I'm asking the question the wrong way. At the very beginning of this report, in order to achieve a more widespread reach across the district, this ultimately influences the overall awareness and public perception of the college.
Right.
I would think that, is the goal of the campaign to increase enrollment? Is it to, have people say nice things about us? I'm sorry that I'm just not clear on what we're trying to accomplish.
Laura, would you like to respond to that?
Sure. The overall goal is obviously to increase awareness and to let people know what we do out there. So it's also to increase our enrollment. Every ad campaign that we do or every spot that we use has a different purpose. So we may do something on workforce development, and that goal is to increase that workforce development at that time. We may also have a new program we want to highlight or a new event that we're highlighting at the college. So the overall campaign is to create that awareness within our community about the services and the opportunities that we have at the college, and to also drive our enrollment. So it's twofold. It becomes more finite when we actually take out the weekly or monthly campaigns depending on what we're advertising at that time. So it's not one mass advertisement and saying we're going to do the same thing over the next year, but it's really segmented individually, and Christina really works great with our radio and her staff on really targeting and making sure that we have all the services and all the programs at the college represented throughout the whole year.
Chris, if I can just mention something also. Years ago, we went to an ICCT convention, and one of the things that one of the seminars that was really good was about how you really need to brand and get your name out. And they had a lot of colleges that were doing presentations on different brochures that they were doing, billboards that they were taking, radio. Some colleges had little jingles that they had made up, because there's so much competition that you have to keep your name out there every way you can, because you want people to think of MCC first. So we made a decision, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago about the whole branding, and we went out into the community. We did a lot of research, and so this is a whole part of all the branding that we're trying to do, that we actually started the whole process about 3 years ago. So we've got to get that name out, and so that when people think of going back to school or getting their training or doing what they need to do, they think of us first. The only way you can create that is by getting your name out in radio and billboards.
Right.
And
when you say there's a lot of competition, are you referring to other community colleges or?
Well, and then you've got your online colleges that are doing. You got Phoenix. You got you've got all these other types of educational messages out there. So we want to be that message.
I'll make one last comment, and then whoever else wants to weigh in. Maybe I run with the wrong crowd, but I like the fact that I see articles every week, several times a week, over MCC offers this, MCC offers that. That's great. And I think that is generated from our press releases. When it comes to the full page color ads, I've not heard any positive feedback on those at all. Every piece of feedback I've gotten has been negative, and even tonight we heard somebody speak in opposition to those ads, and at previous meetings we've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Well, you're not alone. You're not alone, Chris.
I've gotten positive.
I don't know. Maybe you and I run around with the same crowd, because actually my first call from a constituent was about the ad. And the person said, I never have called anybody before, but I know you, so I'm going to call you now. What's going on? And I think, it's again the perception. People think a full-page ad, like this person thought it cost $6,000. Well, it doesn't cost $6,000. But if that's what a person thinks, then they're saying, why are you spending this money, all this money, on a full-page ad? And also from that very first phone call, I haven't gotten one positive feedback on it. They said, why are you doing it? Why are you spending the money that way? That's all. And then also this other one about this last ad, or I don't know if it was 2 ads ago, which did have that gentleman that is running for public office. And I got comments about that, you know, how, and you know, it's just not, you know, I think sometimes, you know, I don't know when he was chosen or not, and but, you know, there may have been another more appropriate candidate than that person. That puts us...
I wouldn't say more appropriate candidate.
Well,
that's not quite...
No, maybe that's not the right wordage, but somebody that we would not want to highlight, because what people are saying is you're giving him, you know, free advertising.
It's true.
I don't think there was any mention that he was running, so...
No, but Cynthia, people in the community...
My
Okay,
sentence.
okay, I'm
And
sorry.
then
My
you walk
husband says
up-
that all the time.
Yeah. I don't think there was no mention of him. I think I understand that perception, and I recognize that perception, but I am also convinced that there was no intent to be...
Sure.
No, let me just...
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. That there was no intent on our part to do that. We can certainly, you know, be aware of how people react to the ads, and that's useful information for us, but I do not think that should take away from the fact that he got the award and that he was highlighted equally with other people who got the award. That's all I want to say.
Okay, I'm not saying that there's an intent here, but what I'm saying is there may be a lack of, I don't know, sensitivity to what's going on in the community. I mean, I don't know, maybe people are apolitical and don't know he's running, but there's a large segment of the community that does know that, and they question the use of that ad. I'm just reporting that.
I agree with you on that. All of my feedback was negative on that. I think the Northwest Herald in general does a good job when we do press releases, and you know, if the garden committee is meeting and this, or new classes are being offered. I think that money can be saved for advertising by just doing your normal press releases. I don't know a lot of people who listen to Star 105.5, nor the NPR station out of Rockford. I don't know what kind of market penetration you're going to get on that. But you know, I think the awareness, possibly billboards, where people see it all the time, then targeting $40,000 is a lot of money. People ask the questions, how much these ads cost, everything else, and they do cost a lot of money, and people are starting to watch the dollars that we spend, and they should.
Well, I think we've said this before, and I still believe it strongly, that in the business we're in, and the mode we're in, and the positions that we're in, we really do have to consider perception as being every bit as important as reality. And whether we're addressing voters or students or donors or anybody else that's related to us, we really need to be sensitive to that. And what I would like to ask that pulls together what you folks are saying is how do we measure the individual elements? I hear a gross summary, but this one particular thing may be an element that's different than the others in terms of its receptivity, perceptivity, or so forth. Do we measure those elements in a different way?
We do. When we do radio ads, we also monitor at that time the number of clicks that come to the website. So the listener is listening and going to our website
Listening and
because
clicking at the same
yeah.
time.
So we're
Okay.
measuring that on a monthly basis through our analytics. We're also looking at the registration peaks. So if we do a program awareness at that time, during that
fall
1 week,
registration is
yeah.
open?
Are we having an increase in traffic? So we're measuring that as well. So we're really looking at how we're spending money. To Trustee Wilbeck's point, you know, we are really sensitive to our dollars, and we would love to advertise on the Chicago radio stations, but we just can't afford that. So we're really looking at where's our market and how can we target our community, because there are quite a few people who, if you go downtown Crystal Lake into any of the stores, they have Star on.
Star 105
so
on,
you're
yep.
hearing that as the shoppers are going through. So we know you may not be listening it to in your car, but when you're going to the stores, you are hearing it. And what we want is when you're in that store, you're hearing about MCC. You're hearing about fall registration.
Well, look, I think we're sitting here with a 500-pound gorilla in the room. then we ought to put it out so we can talk
Well,
about it.
I would just like to make a final comment on this.
Yes,
before
we're
we
not
go.
final, we're not done with
No,
this
oh,
yet.
I thought you were saying we were moving on.
No,
Sorry,
I'm
I
not.
misunderstood you. Then I didn't mean to cut you off, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to finish that.
Yeah.
The feedback that we're telling you about that Molly and Tom and Chris and I have gotten with respect to one particular element of our promotional program, and that is the full-page color profiles have been negative. If there was some positive stuff, I'd like to hear it and tell you about it, but I've only heard negative, and the emails that I've gotten and so forth. So we need to be sensitive to that. I think, if that thing cost $1, it would still appear to cost a lot more. If they were paying us, it would still,
Right,
and our
yes.
perception and what we're doing is very, very important to our success. Anybody, no, Cynthia, you have something to add to that?
Oh, I do, but I didn't want to interrupt you, I'm sorry, yeah. I have a slightly different tact. I was particularly distressed this spring when, in the Northwest Herald, and I'm not picking on the paper, but I'm talking, there were comments made by people who were interviewed, particularly in there, but also in other places. And of course, the paper has to give a balanced viewpoint and interview all sides. There was a lot of misinformation in the paper about what was going on at the college. I read comments by people who said we were planning to build a 30,000 square foot health club, which we know is not true. Everyone here knows that there is no 30,000 square foot health club on the horizon. That we were violating the Open Meetings Act by calling a special meeting on a Tuesday and posting it on a Friday, and that we were violating that. That we had to raise tuition to make up a budget shortfall, and yet we had healthy reserves that we could have covered that with. That on the average, half our classroom space is empty, and several very unkind things about Dr. Smith that didn't even necessarily have any serious weight to them. They were just unkind things. And I think when your image has been attacked like that over a 3-month period, a 4-month period, some of it not true, some of it just opinion, but some of it actually an error, there's a lot of damage done. And I think that these articles do help to put the image forward that this college deserves. I've read the text on all those ads, and I've got to say that the goals that are expressed, the achievements that are highlighted, the types of people, I mean, obviously we had some on various personalities of import in the college, but some of the ones about the people who have been successful, very, very good, and I think that they give people an idea, hey, that could be me, I could do that, or I could do that, this. So I am obviously with a different crowd, running with a different crowd, but I think that they were needed because I think there was, because of this, this image perception, and like you say, perception can harm things, but I think that the perception was in many instances based on misinformation or whatever, and so I see why we need them, although that's not the main reason we need them. As has been explained here, we have a number of reasons for doing them outside of that, but that alone to me is also a good reason.
Well, as a board, we don't want to be micromanaging.
Right.
We don't want to define the marketing program.
That's true.
We just want to caution the administration that we're getting a lot of unsettling comments about the full page. And if you're getting a lot of favorable ones, then who cares what we said? Well, I do. Okay. I think we need to be sensitive to that, thoughtful about it, measuring feedback in some manner, and we're giving you some right here, right now, from us as citizens. And
Yeah, I think, Laura, I had expressed, what I had expressed today. I mean, it wasn't the first time that I've expressed it. And you did mention that there were some very concrete metrics that at the end of the campaign, as to how many people, because only that website that you have advertised on those ads will people click on, and you'll know they came from that website. And I think that would be helpful for us to have, so we can, just so for information and maybe to dispel. But, I mean, I'm just telling you what I'm hearing, that's all, you know.
Okay, is there further discussion on the radio advertising board report 13-110?
No.
Just
No further?
last comment, if this does move forward, I would hope that the ads are more of an informative nature, that here's the programs that we have, here's what's going on, as opposed to, I'm just like you, because there's not a lot of people that are just like me.
Aren't we all glad?
I'm done.
So then, do we call it?
All right, so it's been moved and seconded that we approve,
So now the roll call.
Okay.
and so, right, and so
Ready?
now we should have a roll call.
All right, Ms. Kisser,
Yes.
Ms. Lambert,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Wilbeck,
Yes.
Chair Parrish,
No.
Mr. Jenner, no.